All that you feel is welcome here. All that you are is welcome here. All that you feel is welcome here. All that you are is welcome here. Humans have an amazing, incredible capacity for feeling a multitude of feelings in any given moment. And in this worship service, in this moment in the life of this congregation and in my life, this is a moment in which we are feeling lots of feelings. My ministry with this congregation is coming to an end, and it probably feels like this is happening really quickly, all of a sudden. A whole mess of emotion is likely swirling around and in and among us. Shock, sadness, anger, confusion, compassion, love, care, hope, more. Every individual is a world. And this community is a world of worlds. Who we are is what emerges from how all these feelings are in relationship with one another. We are all dynamic beings, continually emerging from a web of interdependent relationships, a never static, always shifting and growing web, a weaving and unweaving and interweaving web. It is entirely possible that I would not be a minister today if not for a friend of mine named Larry Hoyt. Larry died about a year ago, March last year. And last weekend, on the weekend of his, what would have been his 72nd or 73rd birthday, I joined with some friends to celebrate him and to recognize the impact that his life had on ours. I started playing guitar really seriously when I was in graduate school because, I had all that free time because I didn't have to study or anything. Eventually, I'm not exactly sure how this happened, but I gathered up the courage to go and show up and play and sing at the open mic night that was happening at the downtown coffee shop in Syracuse. It was a long, narrow place with exposed reddish brick walls, actually not unlike Cafe Lena, if you've been in there. And towards the back of the place was this small 6-inch high raised stage. And Larry was there hosting the open mic. He always had a smile on his bearded face, and I am convinced that the word avuncular was invented in order to describe him. He was very encouraging to me and listened to me more than he spoke to me. He loaned me a banjo when I got curious about learning to play it. Yeah, he gave me my first banjo hit for free. Larry was an enabler, a folk music enabler. His welcome is one of the main things that put me on the path of playing music, which is the thing that put me on the path of eventually getting me recruited by a local UU congregation to do music for them, which eventually led to the path, after one thing and another, to be here as minister with you. We are all worlds of feelings right now, part of a web of relationships right now. And that web of relationships reaches back into the past. I was an academic when I got to know my friend Larry. I was a literary theorist and philosopher. I was fascinated by deconstruction. So at the risk of teaching you something I think I probably already taught you before, I will now teach you how the Hegelian dialectic is important to the philosophical brand of thought called deconstruction. You're going to love this. All right, Hegel was a late 18th, early 19th century German philosopher. And some of you may know the Hegelian dialectic, right? The Hegelian dialectic is thesis, antithesis, synthesis. So let's try it together. One, you be thesis, all right? You be antithesis, right? And then all together will be synthesis, right? So, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Oh, isn't that wonderful? This is how history moves along. This is how our experience moves along. But the word synthesis is actually a bad translation of the word in German that Hegel is using. The word he uses is Aufhebung. And it's an interesting word in German because it has contradictory meanings. It means to cancel, but it also means to pick up. In a way, a better translation might be the word relieve, as in a new soldier relieves the sentry of duty. Or one pitcher relieves another pitcher at the mound. There's change, but at the same time there's continuity and continuous. And there's support too. These sentries, these pitchers, even though they're not physically together in that moment when they're pitching or guarding, they are helping one another. They are playing for the same team still, in support of the same team. My ministry with this congregation is ending, but the ministry of this congregation will continue. I founded a folk concert not-for-profit in Syracuse. That's another bit of Larry Hoyt enabling. I loved that effort. It was exhausting, but it was so rewarding. I loved building all the relationships with all the different people and the amazing music that I helped to make happen. But there came a time when I needed to make a change, and so I made a really difficult decision. I made the decision to leave them. After I left, the organization took a deep breath and reflected on their identity and their mission. They reflected on how they did things, and now they are going gangbusters now. Even through the pandemic, bigger than it was when I was leading it. The best thing that I ever did for that little not-for-profit that I started was leave. I really miss the Focus Project. And I am going to really miss UU Saratoga and all of you. In moments like this, I latch on to what the deconstructionist philosophers see in that word that Hegel uses. We never really leave anything behind. With each transition, we are new, and yet we still carry our past with us. At the heart of deconstruction is the recognition that every text, and I would say every person, is a complex and even contradictory plurality of thoughts and feelings and experiences. There's one of my favorite Walt Whitman quotes that I shared just a few weeks ago with you. Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. And it is out of all of those multitudes and how they're in relationship that who we are emerges. My friend Larry is gone, but in many ways I carry him with me. The people we have known are part of who we are now. And it's also true that the people that we are now, the web of relationships that we're in right now, doesn't just extend into the past and exist in the present, it also extends into the future. The decisions we make, the priorities that we have, the questions that we ask, the sort of activism we practice, the way we practice welcome, all sorts of habits that we carry with us and that we learned consciously or unconsciously from one another and those people who are no longer with us and which we will consciously or unconsciously share with others as we move forward. They will all continue. The Reverend Manish Mishra Marzetti, reflecting on the way friends supported him through a nasty crisis, came to a new appreciation of how, quote, in any given moment, we might not know the outsized impact of our loving presence and care may have. We might not know the outside impact our loving presence and our care may have. The way we are in relationship with others lives on in ways that we probably don't even realize. In all of my future ministry, there will be a piece of UU Saratoga and Saratoga Springs. As this congregation and this minister live on separately, apart from one another, but still in covenant, all of us UUs, and committed to the fact that our faith is rooted in covenant, with that support, this minister and this congregation can look forward in confident hope to important ministries to come. For many years, I have bragged about this congregation's sense of communal care, the way you all look after one another, the way you all look out for one another, and how that ministry is formalized in the congregation's amazing care team. You've got to keep that up, and I have no doubt that you will. As you build new literal walls for this congregation's new home, I hope you will continue to reach out beyond the literal and figurative walls of this congregation, growing the presence of love and compassion and justice in Saratoga Springs, in New York State, and beyond. Keep making calls and sending letters like I know lots of you are doing. Keep showing up at the New York State Capitol to advocate for the passage at long last of medical aid in dying in our state. Keep looking for ways to grow your connections and collaborations with local liberal religious organizations and with local social justice groups. And also to grow your connections with your fellow Unitarian Universalists in the Hudson Mohawk cluster and throughout the UUA. Keep nurturing your web of relationships, keeping love always at the center, and from that you will emerge. Unitarian Universalists covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. I know that sounds big. As a way of living into that commitment, I'll give you just a little, here's your first hit for free. I urge you to take part in the upcoming UUA Common Read event that's being sponsored by your social justice team. The UUA, the UU Association of Congregations Common Read for this year is a book called Authentic Selves, Celebrating Trans and Non-Binary People and Their Families. Reading the stories in that book has opened my eyes to experiences that I could never have imagined on my own. It's given me a new set of relationships, a new set of feelings has emerged, and a new set of understandings. Ways I feel more love and compassion than I did before, love and compassion for people I haven't even really met, but who are now a part of me. It's opened my heart to people that I never will meet. And follow the lead of your social justice team as they seek to renew this congregation's commitment to being a sanctuary congregation, something that you voted on in 2017. I wonder why you did that. And that may need to be renewed now. Explore what being a sanctuary congregation might mean. From the moment that I arrived here, you opened your hearts to me. You have invited me into your hearts and homes and minds and lives. You have challenged me and encouraged me. You have praised me and you have criticized me. You are large. You contain multitudes. You have thanked me for things I've said from the pulpit, and lots of you have, you must admit it, encouraged my singing, my guitar playing, and yes, even my banjo playing. Our shared ministry is ending, and you will never leave my heart. UU Saratoga feels like home to me. And though I am leaving, I am going to carry you all with me. We are parting ways, and yet each of us has a piece of the other that we will carry with us as we travel our new ways, creating new relationships and expanding understandings as we center ourselves on and ground ourselves in love. We will be able to become who we become next because of the commitment and love that we have shared together. I am proud of you. And I know that I will be proud of you and your ministry to come. And I hope that as I go my way, I will make you proud. May we honor the interdependent web of all existence. With reverence for the great web of life and with humility, may we acknowledge our place in it. So it is. May we make it so.